Welcome to this explainer. Look, if you're a university student right now, staring down the barrel of a 3,000 to 5,000 word corpus linguistics report and honestly feeling completely overwhelmed by where to even begin, just take a deep breath. You are in exactly the right place. Today, we're going to transform that massive mountain of a project into a clear, actionable, and highly structured step-by-step tutorial.
Because really, that's the central question here, right? How do you handle and extract genuine insight from massive amounts of text without losing your mind? Well, for students learning research methodology, there is an absolute cheat code that literally eliminates the anxiety of starting from scratch. It's a method called replication. Now, let's be crystal clear about what replication actually means. It's not copying. It isn't plagiarism. Actually, it's more like taking an existing peer-reviewed study and using it as an architectural floor plan to build your own entirely unique project. You let the experts figure out how to build a house, and then you just use those exact same tools to build a brand new one on your own plot of land.
So to get from a blank screen to a finished report, we're going to follow this simple four-phase roadmap. We've got Phase 1, your research blueprint. Phase 2, gathering your data. Phase 3, analyzing the corpus. And finally, Phase 4, interpreting the results. All right, let's dive right into Phase 1, your research blueprint. So, before you even think about downloading software or collecting text, you need a model. Once you select a clear, published article, you're going to deconstruct its methodology into a simple blueprint table, kind of like this one. Map out their research question, the exact size of their corpus, the software they utilized, and the theoretical framework that applied. In this specific example, the original researchers looked at the representation of women in Pakistani newspaper editorials using ant-conch. And just like that, this simple table becomes your master plan.
Okay, moving right along to Phase 2, gathering your data.
You've got your blueprint, but now you need your raw materials. This is where your unique contribution really happens. See, you keep the strict methodological design of your model, but you adapt the core question to new data. So while the original study might have analyzed published newspapers, your replication study can instantly shift the focus to raw, modern social media discussions. You're basically asking the exact same structural question, but exploring a completely different corner of the room.
And when you go out to collect those social media posts or, whatever data you choose to look at, target a specific word count. Anywhere from 5,000 to 20,000 words is really the sweet spot for a university project. I cannot stress this enough. A small, highly focused, carefully curated corpus is infinitely better than a massive, messy, poorly selected one. Quality over quantity, for sure. Now, once you have your text, you absolutely must clean it by running through this crucial checklist. Analytical software is incredibly literal. It will trip over basic formatting. So remove all images, delete page numbers, strip out any references and tables, and, this is a big one, save everything as a plain text file, a .txt, using UTF-8 encoding. And make sure to keep all these clean files neatly organized in one dedicated folder. Which brings us to the fun part. Phase 3, analyzing the corpus.
Your data is squeaky clean, so it's time to feed those plain text files into your chosen software, like ant-conch, to extract the hidden patterns. You'll want to mirror 4 exact analytical procedures here. First, generate a word frequency list to find common themes. Then, create a keyword list by comparing your text to a reference corpus. Third, conduct a concordance analysis. And finally, analyze collocations.
Let's zoom in on concordance for a second, because it's kind of misunderstood. Concordance analysis isn't just about counting words. It's the technique of looking at how a target word sits in its natural habitat among surrounding words. It lets you inspect the immediate context of a keyword so you can see its actual practical usage. For example, if your search term is power, concordance lines don't just tell you the word exists, they show you exactly what kind of power the text is obsessed with. You start to see context patterns emerge, things like power relations, political power, or colonial power. Suddenly, your broad data has a distinct flavor. Next up, we move from that immediate context to broader semantic networks by looking at collocations. These are words that frequently and statistically occur near your target word. Uncovering collocations is honestly like pulling back the curtain to reveal the hidden discourse patterns and deep semantic ties linking ideas in the author's mind. So if you run a search for the target word women, and collocates like rights, education, empowerment, or oppression pop up, well, they immediately tell a vivid thematic micro-story about the focus of your data. The software has mathematically proven that these concepts are inextricably linked in your corpus. All right, we've got our data. Now for Phase 4, interpreting the results.
This is where we step back from the software interface and actually make sense of all those patterns. Contrast a purely descriptive count, like the word women occurred 250 times, with a qualitative interpretation, like the high frequency of women suggests gender identity is a central thematic concern. See the difference? That second sentence is what elevates your data from a boring list of numbers to a high-scoring university report. In fact, the golden rule from our source material is exactly this. Anconc provides the counts, the patterns, and the examples. It shows you exactly where to look, but you, as the researcher, well, you must provide the meaning, the explanation, and the theoretical significance. You have to explain why it matters.
And because you're doing a replication study, the absolute heart of your interpretation lies in comparison. When you compare your new social media findings back to that original newspaper editorial study, ask yourself, do the same keywords appear? Are the discourse patterns similar? And if they are different, what contextual factors explain those differences?
So, to tie it all together into that final 3,000 to 5,000 word document, just follow this standard 6-step structural framework. You'll start with your introduction and literature review, tying those back to your original model study, of course. Detail your methodology. Clearly present your results broken down by frequency, keywords, concordance, and collocations, and then dive deep into your discussion before wrapping up with a solid conclusion.
By following this replication blueprint, you've totally bypassed the paralysis of the blank page and engaged directly with the mechanics of real linguistic analysis. You're not just pushing buttons in some software, you're actively decoding language. So, as you gather your text files and fire up your tools, consider this. Corpus linguistics isn't just some tedious assignment. It's a remarkably powerful lens. What hidden societal patterns will your own data reveal? Well, the tools are in your hands. Go find out.